So Xiaomi has been making some really great camera phones for been like 3 or 4 years now, and every single year I've seen Xiaomi improve, like seriously improve, to the point where its cameras are putting brands like Samsung and Apple to shame. Still, I don't think Xiaomi has been doing great overall in terms of sales, mainly because it just does not deliver that complete package. But as soon as I unboxed this phone, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, I was instantly impressed by some of the specs it had. It's the only brand that retains a full 1-inch sensor for the main camera, a proper 1-inch sensor. It also now has a telephoto camera with hardware-level variable zoom, and that Leica partnership, it's getting more and more integrated that now we even have a special Leica edition of this phone. So could this be the year of the Xiaomi 17 Ultra? Well, I have been using it for more than 10 days now, and honestly, I am really impressed. Okay, let's talk about the cameras first, because that's everything here. And one strange thing that you will notice instantly here is if you shake the phone like this, you can actually hear the mechanical parts moving inside the camera module. But if you shake something like an iPhone or a Samsung phone, nothing really happens. That's because there's an actual mechanical system inside this zoom camera, which you can actually see with your naked eyes. There's a physical movement going on, just like a real camera lens that zooms, and here you can optically zoom from 75mm aka 3.2x all the way to 100mm aka 4.3x. Now, it's not a smooth 75mm to 100mm transition. It works in steps. You get 75mm, then 85mm, then 90mm, and then 100mm. So essentially 4 focal lengths to choose from. If you remember, last year and even the year before that, Xiaomi used to give 2 separate telephoto cameras. One was a 3x zoom and the other was 4.3x zoom. This year, they have combined everything into this single unit. And 70mm is a very good focal length for portraits, and then you have other focal lengths as well, so there's a lot of flexibility depending on the perspective that you want. So yeah, this is a really cool concept and shows where mobile photography is probably heading. But right now, I didn't find it extremely useful. Well, why? Because right now we're in the era of huge 200 megapixel sensors. So even if you digitally zoom, there won't be massive loss in detail. But maybe in the future, we'll get to see 70mm to 150mm with multiple real optical focal lengths in one unit. Anyway, the core image quality from this telephoto lens is excellent. I was able to get some very detailed photos with nice depth. Just look at this pigeon shot. It looks excellent. Even up to 10x zoom, the details are very impressive. And it's not just about the sharpness, it's about how textures are handled. The images don't look over smoothened or over sharpened like we sometimes see on Vivo or Oppo phones at higher zoom levels. Just look at this moonshot. Xiaomi is able to capture superb zoom shots with natural details. The only thing is, this telephoto lens is not as fast as we see on something like the Vivo X300 Pro. So you do need steady hands. If your hands are stable, you'll get really great zoom photos. Likewise, portraits are outstanding here. Skin tones in particular look so natural, especially comparing it with something like the Vivo X300 Pro. Vivo generally gives a yellowish skin tone, whereas Xiaomi gives a more natural, more likable skin tone. By the way, there are 2 portrait modes you can choose from. If you want a dramatic look, you can click in Leica mode, but for most of us, the master mode is a better option. Yes, sometimes the background exposure of the portraits is a bit high, and occasionally the skin tone gets slightly brightened. And as you can see from these samples, Xiaomi likes to prioritize the focus on face, whereas the edges aren't always super sharp, but I guess that is intentional. It gives that layered, depth-heavy look. And as always, I really love the black and white portraits from this phone. There are multiple black and white filters you can choose from, and they all look outstanding. The different shades of black, the contrast, the way it handles the highlights and shadows, it just looks so beautiful. Now, another outstanding thing about the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is its main camera. Honestly, I think this is the best main wide camera on a smartphone right now. As I said earlier, Xiaomi is pretty much the only brand that is still offering a full 1-inch sensor, and this year Xiaomi is using the latest light fusion sensor here. And maybe because of that larger sensor, photos are generally a bit brighter. They're slightly punchy too, but in a good way. There's just that spark in the photos that makes them stand out. What it also does exceptionally well is dynamic range. Like for example, shooting against the sun, it's much better than something like the Vivo X300 Pro. Likewise, I also found the white balance to almost always be spot on. Yes, at times Xiaomi's photos can be slightly overexposed, highlight management could be better in certain situations, and sometimes it tries to lift the shadows a bit too much. Even in low light, the photos are exceptional. The contrast is very good, and maybe because of that 1-inch sensor, even in extremely dark conditions, Xiaomi is able to pull in more light and extract more detail. Now coming to the ultra wide, it's a 14mm lens. It's not as wide as something like the iPhone 17 Pro or even the Honor Magic 8 Pro that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. But then again, Xiaomi's processing is very good. The dynamic range is solid. The color consistency between the main telephoto and the ultra wide is usually very nice. Yes, just like the main camera, sometimes the ultra wide images lifts shadows slightly, but overall, I really like Xiaomi's ultra wide performance too. Now, one thing I do miss compared to last year's Xiaomi 15 Ultra is the macro capability. If you remember, last year the 3x telephoto lens could focus very close and I was able to take proper close-up macro shots. This year, that's not really the case. The minimum focus distance on the telephoto lens here is around 26 centimeters, which means you can't go very close for macro shots. Yes, you can go closer using the main camera and it can do macro digitally, but it's not as detailed. So that's a small trade-off because of this new telephoto mechanism. Another thing I'm not very satisfied is with the selfie camera. They have upgraded it this year. It's now a 50 megapixel sensor and we finally get autofocus, but still I feel like it could have been better. The selfie photos lack a bit of detail, they're slightly over contrasty, and sometimes the skin tone looks a bit over processed. Selfie videos are also not very exceptional. They could be better in terms of wideness, colors, and highlight control. What really surprised me is the improvement in the back camera video performance. It has improved quite a bit. You get very good contrast, just like with the photos. So yeah, I am so happy to see the improvements in the videography aspect. Yes, in extremely low light, I did notice some focus hunting and micro jitters here and there, but overall, I was able to get really good video from all of the three rear cameras. By the way, I'm coming up with a full detailed camera comparison between this one and the Vivo X300 Pro. Last time, the Vivo X300 Pro reached the finals and we're going to find out which is the best camera phone of 2026. So make sure you subscribe to my channel to watch that full in-depth camera comparison. It's going to be really interesting. Okay, so we already knew the cameras were exceptional here, but what really impressed me about the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is how much the other aspects have improved. First of all, the design. This feels classy. That's the word I would use, classy, especially this black color variant and this red ring around the camera module. It just adds a nice bit of character. I don't have the Leica Special Edition with me, but on that unit, this ring actually rotates. It's a mechanical ring that you can use for zooming, adjusting exposure, and even opening the camera app. Yes, it sounds a bit gimmicky, but for some people, especially camera enthusiasts, that could actually be useful. Moving on, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra also has that flat look like most 2026 flagships. Flat front, flat back, flat side frames, and the buttons also feel nice and tactile. They kind of remind me of older iPhone style buttons. The weight distribution is also significantly better this year, and interestingly, Xiaomi isn't using a glass back here, it's plastic, but it does not feel cheap at all. The reason why they're using plastic is to keep the weight in check since it uses huge camera sensors and big batteries. Using plastic helps balance things out. We've seen something similar with the Honor Magic series as well. Having said that, the Xiaomi 17 Ultra is still quite a heavy phone. It's not as balanced as something like the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Xiaomi has also sourced a good panel for the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. It's similar to last year's panel with everything you would expect from a proper flagship display. 12-bit color, high PWM dimming, Dolby Vision support, and LTPO refresh rates. But in 2026, the benchmark has just gone up, especially after what Samsung did with the S26 Ultra's privacy display. Compared to that, this looks normal now. still, it's a very good display. Good viewing angles, good touch response, bright enough outdoors. The speakers are quite nice too. They sound fuller, warmer, the vocals are clean. It's definitely better than something we get on Vivo or Oppo phones, but not quite at the iPhone level. Another surprise for me was my experience interacting with this phone has been quite good. I do not expect such a good experience from a Xiaomi phone, especially a HyperOS phone, but HyperOS version 3 has clearly improved. Animations are smoother, it's getting closer, but not quite there yet because we all know HyperOS is still HyperOS. You will notice slight jitters here and there. For example, when I swipe from Google Discover to the home screen, there's a tiny stutter, and I genuinely don't understand why that still exists on a phone running on the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 with some of the fastest RAM and storage available. But if you're curious about how this phone performs while gaming, here's a chart with all of my gaming test results. And what's even better is there are no heating issues here. Last year and the year before, heating was a real concern, but this time it stays cool. Now, the only thing that has really surprised me, and not in a good way, is the battery life. This phone has a 6800 mAh silicon carbon battery, so naturally I was expecting insane battery life, but I'm only getting around 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, which should not be happening with a battery that is this big. It clearly feels like an optimization issue with HyperOS. Maybe a future update will fix it, because with this kind of capacity, it should definitely be performing better. Okay, conclusion time, and for the most part, I really like the Xiaomi 17 Ultra. There have been improvements in many areas. It's more refined, more mature, it's getting closer to being a truly balanced flagship. But is it the most balanced flagship phone out there? Well, not yet. Something like Samsung or even Oppo might still feel slightly more polished overall. And I do think the software is still the bottleneck. Xiaomi could improve further, maybe add meaningful AI features, refine the small animations, and polish the experience even more. But when it comes to the camera experience, it's just so good. Going out on a weekend for a photo walk, maybe when you're supposed to be meeting your girlfriend or boyfriend, but instead you decide to walk around the city, shoot black and white portraits, capture nature, chase light. This is that phone. The camera experience just feels serene, pure, that Leica tuning, that dramatic black and white, that 1-inch sensor depth. It feels intentional. Alright everyone, what are your thoughts on the recently launched Xiaomi 17 Ultra? Please let me know in the comments below, and while you're there, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Saying this, I'm Pratima Adhikari, and thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with a comparison with the Vivo X300 Pro soon.